Namaste. Welcome to the beginning of another live Sangha. I hope you feel welcomed here. I would like to begin with the Gayatri mantra, and if you know it, you're welcome to join along with me. Alright. Aum Bhur-Bhuvaswaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yunah Prachodayat. Om. As we await our first guests to arrive, allow me to set the intention for this space as being one in which we can all find unity amidst the diversity of our lives. Hello, Leia. Welcome. Hello, Easy Pie. Happy to have you here. You are each very early. Here, Leia, you're wondering what mantra do I recommend for you? Whichever one makes your heart sing. I like to share a bunch of them. I tell you what, I just made a little section in the frequently asked questions page in the link tree in my bio about the meanings of the mantras that I like to share, and you can scroll through there and see whichever one sounds nice to you. One of my favorites is the classic Om Namah Shivaya. Anyone can chant that at any time. Thank you, dear Easy Pie, for the wonderful heart me that you sent just a moment ago. Hari Om Tat Sat. Dear Bobby Sue, welcome. And thank you for your heart me. Team Bracelet and cheer you up. Jai Sitaram. You like that mantra too? I'm happy to hear that. Radhe Radhe, dear Gregarji. Hello, Magdalene. And thank you at the link below for your subscription too. I just made some changes, like, for example, you'll notice that the label next to your name should say yam with an Om symbol, and you should have a fruit, since I love juice and fruits galore. I hope that I continue to evolve with you on this spiritual path. Welcome, everyone. Happy to have you all here. That's right, dear Gregarji. There's different kinds of fruits for everyone. Do I like cats? Asks Leia. I love cats very deeply. Speaking of deeply, thank you for complimenting my fit. You are fruitful, shares Magdalene. Yes, you are. And very sweet. Yes, that's right. Told of love you. Have a strawberry. And good day, Bobby Sue. You share that you have me in the background as you go about your day. You don't get to interact much. That's understandable. I'm always happy to have you here regardless. Alright. I would like to ask you all my question of the day, which you are welcome to think about with me. Today I'm wondering, how do we give ourselves the space to grow? Space is so important, but often forgotten as one of the 5 elements. It is said that earth comes from water, water comes from fire, fire comes from air, but air comes from space. Space is necessary for this whole universe to exist. Space is the place in which it all happens. How can we give ourselves metaphorical or physical space in order to grow, to learn, to develop, to evolve? I would like to know. But thank you, dear Brihef, for the heart me you sent too. Om Dum Durgaye Namha and Tattvam Asi. Thank you for your quintet of roses too. Jai Nisargadatta Maharaj. Bolt of Love, you share that sometimes we need to ask for it or assert it. Absolutely. Especially when it comes to other people in our life too. And Gregarji, you share by learning about and trying to exercise those 3 space elements in Hinduism. Like that. Having a spiritual model for our physical life can be very helpful indeed. Welcome, dear user 137. Priscilla, you share that I look like a lead singer from the band Simply Red. Interesting. I hope you like that band. And if so, thank you for finding something that relates to a part of your life in me. Namaste, Angel. Leia, you share that I look like an angel. And Serena Star, you share I look like Jesus. I must have a lot of doppelgangers then. Well, those are very kind sentiments. Thank you. I unfortunately am unable at this moment to grow a beard as luscious as depictions of Jesus, but perhaps I've got his hair. Now, Painted James, your answer to our question of the day is: love yourself, save a bug, enjoy the moment, smile as much as you can, and you share that you love us all. Thank you for that. Namaste. And thank you, dear Priscilla, for the rose you sent as well. Hari Om Tat Sat. Deeply, your answer was: by grace and kindness and love, only with love and patience do we grow. Right you are. Bobby Joe, you share meditation. That's wonderful. Yeah, meditation is perhaps one of the most aptly suited experiences to describe space to grow. User 137, you wonder how my day-to-day looks like or my routines. Well, today I woke up, got out of bed, made sure to give my kitties some pats, took care of Tulasi Devi, a plant that I revere, did my mantras for the deities that speak to my heart, and a little prayer. And I worked on the frequently asked questions page in the link tree in my bio. And I did a lot of preparation for some of the things that we're going to explore today in this live stream. Dear Cody, you wondered what I wanted to be when I grew up when I was young. I'll never forget, because I told myself what I wanted to be every day just in case I forgot. Because I looked around at the adults and I'd always ask them what they wanted to be when they were older, and oftentimes it didn't match. And so that terrified me. That told me that adults must have forgotten what they wanted to be as children. So I told myself every day what I wanted to be so I wouldn't forget. And that was an inventor. Someone who invents things. Now, Tattvamasi, you share to the answer of the question of the day that by being with silence for some time every day. I like that answer a lot too. Yeah, in this modern age we have so much stimulation in our environment. It's good to try to find some space amidst our 5 senses. And the space of sound is silence. I understand, Gregarji, yes. Elements in Sanskrit we can describe as tattvas, principles. Yes, I do have kitties. I have 2 boys named Sandy and Shadow. Thank you, dear Painted James, for a whole galaxy. That's very kind of you. Very humbling as always to receive even but a rose. But your generous reflection of gratitude is something that goes beyond measure. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Via de la Luna, you said that you fell asleep the other night listening to my live. Oh, well, I'm grateful that the space is comfortable enough for you to do that. Namaste, dear Anna. Mar Lara, you ask, why am I so handsome? You'll have to ask my mom. She made me. Dear Leia, you wonder what my favorite number is. I have a deep friendship with all the numbers. I'm a big fan of 0, 1, and infinity, as well as constants of mathematics like pi, e, the golden ratio, and the imaginary unit. But let's not forget some nice classical integers like 37. Big fan of that one too. Thank you, Priscilla, for another heart me too. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yes, the next time the kitties make their way into this space, I'd be happy to show them for you. I'm not sure where they are at the moment. Hello, dear Mina. Your answer to the question of the day is: forgiving ourselves gives us space to grow. Hariom Tatsat. Otro. Nico, you're wondering, is this the question I'm looking for the answer to? Today, this is the question of the day, indeed. Gold of love you share by pruning some branches above us. You've been gardening today too. I love that. What a great gardening analogy too. Mina, you also fell asleep listening, and you will again tonight. That's always allowed. Dear Anna, you ask, do I think 5 billion is a lot? Depends what we're talking about. When it comes to atoms, no. Hardly enough for my big toe. Not even enough for a single cell, probably, of my big toe, or any part of my body. How many stars in our galaxy? Oh, that would be perhaps 2%, let alone the universe. But in terms of forehead kisses that I have to give my cat, also not enough. No, they deserve many more. However, in terms of push-ups, oh, I'd be non-existent if I had to do that many push-ups. Dear Joe, your answer to the question of the day is that we have to take time for ourselves. And no, it's not being selfish, as we were taught. It's a good reminder and affirmation. Hello, Neon Jello Pack. Namaste, Dr. Jenny. Alright. Dear Dumei, you share by telling yourself that there is no reason for you not to love yourself. I love that answer too. Thank you everyone for exploring this question of the day together. I'm going to pause it there since I see there's lots of other questions being shared that I can give my attention to, but I'm very happy to keep this space open for the exploration of this question. Like Dr. Ginny, you share by centering what you want. I like that answer a lot too. Hello, William. Dear Tiny Planet Explorer, you had shared that you had an injury and now you're mostly deaf in your right ear. How do you make peace with bad things? Well, the first thing we can do is understand that this universe is not a punishment or reward machine. It's much more nuanced, poetic, and beautiful than that. So please be easier on yourself. Of course, we can always ask questions like how things could have been differently, but we cannot change the past. And I am sorry to hear that. Hearing is so important for so many of us. Naturally, so much expression is done through sound. Nonetheless, whatever happens to us, we can find value in it. And it starts by rephrasing our vocabulary. The moment we call something good or bad, we put it in a box. That means we're no longer curious about the deeper meaning or symbolism or purpose that is inherent in each moment. This doesn't mean that you have to be self-critical or analyze it, but instead, we can ask ourselves, how can I take this experience and use it for my growth somehow? Oftentimes, it requires looking outside of the box. Maybe it allows us to listen even closer to those we care about. It brings us in even deeper contact with the preciousness of sound. From this moment onward, you have a new appreciation for hearing. That's a very beautiful thing. And at the same time, now you have empathy for all those who have hearing loss or some kind of impairment of sound. And that empathy is a wonderful thing too. It connects you with millions of people around the planet. All of those things we can even be grateful for. Not without, of course, some grief, because anything that we cherish, the loss of it is going to bring pain, and we have to validate that too. Thank you, dear Anna, for the music play that you shared too. Om Criticality Namaha. And dear JV, thank you for your tiny and your finger heart as well. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. Gregarji, you shared the word that you wanted to say earlier was Anthakarana, but you flubbed it all the way up. That's a great term, yes, referring to our 4 inner senses of cognition: the mind, the intellect, the ego, and the consciousness. Thank you, dear Michael, for your rose. Radhe Radhe. And Dr. Jenny, thank you for your trio of roses and your tiny tiny. Yahoo! True, bro, you were wondering if I have insight about the shadow of Carl Jung. I'm no psychologist, nor psychoanalyst, or student of any qualifications myself, but I had a girlfriend who was very interested in psychology. She was a student, she still is. And she was very interested in psychoanalysis, especially Jungian psychology too. And from just listening to her, I learned that the shadow involves all of our subconscious impressions and ideas about ourselves that we keep in the dark. Dark referring to outside the light of our conscious awareness. Parts of our identity that we have repressed, subdued, because we're insecure about them. It also includes things that we refuse to accept about ourselves entirely, and instead it becomes projected on others, and thus we end up picking problems with people expressing something that we refuse to find within our experience too. And so coined the term shadow work to express the idea of working with our shadow self, bring it into the light, and accept that all of us humans are mixed bags of beautiful things, but also some dark aspects too, and we're all capable of that darkness. But that doesn't mean we have to express it. That's about the extent of my knowledge on that, but of course, in general, any kind of relationship we can deepen with our subconscious is going to be a fruitful one, and that includes healing from traumas and other sorts of memories that we keep dormant. And hello, dear Sakura. Thank you, Buyatika, for your trio of roses too. Hare Krishna. Dear Sakura, you shared that you bought the yam dana, but you didn't get an email? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That sounds like either a glitch or maybe it got lost somewhere in the spam or something. I'm not sure. Unfortunately, I'm just the one that sets up the store. Everything else is managed by Teespring, but I can double check. I can look in the orders and see if there's an email attached. Yeah. Thank you, dear Peter, for your rose too. Hari Om Tat Sat. Welcome, dear Mischief. I'm sorry to hear about your stressful day today. Giovanna, you had asked what I think about rituals. You shared that you participated in one that showed something in the fire. That's very interesting. Rituals are so meaningful. They give ourselves an experience in the form of a memory for us to refer back to. And now that becomes a seed for thoughts to grow. For example, a common ritual that hopefully every one of us does is a graduation ceremony. At the end of our education, you have to reflect the fact that a transition is happening in life. Otherwise, our subconscious doesn't get the memo, and you keep dreaming about going to school. Some part of you feels like you should be at school still. These ceremonies or rituals or celebrations, ultimately, they inform our subconscious of a pivotal moment in our life, and thus our direction has been refined, and thus thought should be generated aligned with that. It's helpful for moving on from things which we were attached to previously. And it imbues our life with wonderful times for us to socialize and bond with others who participate in it with us too. All of these things decorate the timeline of our life. Alright, dear Secure, I will double check for you. Hello, Nothing is Noise. Nice to have you back. User 137, you had asked, do you have a partner now, and do you think spirituality is deeper when single or taken? At this moment, my partner is the universe. I have found that what I really love in someone is the potential that exists within everyone and everything. Thus now I give my love freely to that source within you, within everybody. You can be a deep spiritual practitioner while in a relationship with someone else romantically or not. And that's up to you. Personal preference and where they are in their journey. There have been many great saints and sages who are householders, and many great saints and sages who never owned a house, never married, or maybe they did, but at some point they renounced that. And as time will tell, as it has for ages, the love, the life we have to give, it's irrespective of the kind of situation that we find our material life to be in. But there is a lesson and aspects of our being that get expressed more or less depending on what we find ourselves engaged in. Hello, dear Judah girl, you share that it's 6 months clean for you today. That's such a big, I was going to say landmark. That's not the right word. What's the word? Time mark. 6 months is a long time, especially for something that we used to depend on daily or almost every day. I'm so happy to hear that you are a testament to what's possible. Milestone. That is the word I was looking for. Thank you, Mischief. You read my mind. Dear Diane, you ask, or you share, that you're not religious, but you are interested in what it means to be spiritual. Well, don't let me tell you, because spirituality is as diverse as there are people around the world. Spirit refers to the essence of your being, and everyone has a unique relationship with it. Spirituality is so vast. There are so many expressions of it and ways to understand it. It's a personal journey for everyone. Many people go to religion as an organized spiritual community, and that can be helpful if you're interested in taking spiritual vows to deepen your connection with spirit. But it's unnecessary, just as there are many ways up a mountain top, but one peak, we can approach it from different directions. We can be a part of a whole band of people going up along the same curve, or we can go off route, take a wild path that no one has done before. But as long as we are getting more patient, more compassionate, more wholehearted, that means we're getting closer and closer to the source of our being, that spirit, that mountaintop. Hello, Gemma Gemma Gemma. And hello, Zanina Turain. Nume, you're wondering if I write down my dreams after waking up. Sometimes, if they're really funny, so funny that I wouldn't risk not laughing to it ever again, that write it down in case I forget. Dear Mina, you share that you will be quitting your job end of the month. It was hard, but it's the right decision. I trust your judgment. Don't FW you. You ask, what's a quote to live life by? Why don't we crack open this wonderful book of quotes just for you? This is 108 Adages of Wisdom. We recently finished reading the Bhagavad Pema Chodran, which had 108 adages of wisdom from this Buddhist nun, Pema. This is from Master Sheng Yen, who is a Chan Buddhist of a Chinese school of Mahayana Buddhism. These are all very short. Here is a quote, an adage of wisdom on protecting the spiritual environment. This one is, use ordinary mind to face unordinary circumstances. Use ordinary mind to face unordinary circumstances. What does that mean to you? It comes with a really funny comic. Person A asks, what would happen if we don't treat the unordinary with an ordinary mind? Person B says, we may lose our cool. Even in unordinary, in exceptional circumstances, all we have to do is use our mind in ordinary ways. Situations may seem complex, but often they arise from simple features in accordance with their relationships to each other. In chaos theory, a branch of mathematics, it's well known that simple rules can give rise to nearly impossible to predict chaotic systems that are very dynamic, with patterns that never repeat. So too our universe and the circumstances of life can be described as a chaotic system, as long as we understand simple rules, simple teachings. That can be enough to understand any circumstance. Thank you for listening. That was the first of 108 adages of wisdom from Master Sheng Yen. A lot of engagement today in the chat, which makes me happy, but I thank you for your patience as I might not see your comment with all the wonderful activity. And thank you, Angular Jupiter, for the Heart Me and Team bracelet you sent to. Radhe Radhe. And Zadina Turin, thank you for your friendship necklace. Namah Shakti Shivaya. Dear Flower, you share that you have some anger issues. Any advice on how to react better when irritated? First thing we can always do is give ourselves space to process. We may have responsibilities to fulfill, but a criteria for our responsibilities is always that we do so when we are feeling comfortable to fulfill them. If something ever arises that irritates you, frustrates you, or angers you, then consider that a little break from the problem at the moment. Whatever task, whatever duty you have, give yourself a momentary break. It can be a few seconds, it can be a few minutes, and if it's related to a job, you can talk to a superior and maybe they can give you a longer time. But yeah, increase the gap between the emotion and the reaction to the emotion. Delay the response. The longer time you give yourself, the more you have time to cool down, to process, to consider more things. Remember that if you're feeling angry, it's natural. Everyone in life knows what that feels like. And everyone in life also knows that when we're angry, oftentimes we need to cool down before we make a decision, because we know what happens when we don't do that. We may solve the problem whilst introducing 10 other problems to fix later on. So, tell anyone relevant to the situation that you are angry. Express that. Explain that your emotions are intense right now and you need some time to think about this in case you do something that could have been done better otherwise. So accept, acknowledge the anger, inform others that you need some space, and give that to yourself, and then return to it with a fresh mind later. It always passes. No emotion stays in your system forever. Thank you, Zadina Choren, for the friendship necklace earlier. And Dr. Ginny, thank you for your trio of roses too. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. Your stone phoenix, thank you for a whole galaxy too. That's very kind of you, and always very humbling to receive such an auspicious token of appreciation. I love how we're all like stars in the night sky, each shining in our own way, lighting up our world. Radhe Radhe. Hello, Amber. Welcome. Thank you, Stone Phoenix. Welcome, Rich Vibes. Dear Fyodor Lover, you ask if we can talk about existence, time, and humanity. Sure. These are very broad topics. What would you like to talk about? Welcome, Amy Elizabeth. Tiny Planet Explorer. You ask me and everyone, what do I think is the worst emotion to feel? It can feel like some emotions are better than others. They're all suited for different situations. When we have an emotion that might not be suited for this situation, it might seem like that's a bad emotion. Only if we feel like we're not supposed to have that emotion. But all emotions have their place, and because of that, I wouldn't say that anyone is wrong to have, and therefore the idea of worse or better is something that we've made up about our feelings because we're allowed to have them. And the more we reject our own feelings, the more power they take from us. Just tell anyone who's angry to not be angry. Will that person become more or less angry? And this applies to ourselves too. We tell ourselves not to feel anything we're feeling. That feeling will just inflame. It's like pouring oil on a fire. It may appear that pouring liquid on fire may douse the flames. But if that liquid happens to be a fuel for the fire, then it will double in intensity, won't it? So too, it may seem like some sort of negative label or sentiment towards our emotions might extinguish them, but actually that resistance is the very fuel for the fire of our feelings itself. Ironically, therefore, we can smother our emotions by accepting them wholeheartedly. Thank you, dear Bilbo Baggins, for your garland headpiece. Om Sum Suryaya Namaha. Dear Nume, you ask, am I the right person to ask about losing weight because I look like I don't have that worry? I have been mostly underweight my whole life, so I'm very grateful to gain weight. That has been the thing I've been struggling with. But even though I was underweight, my doctor affirmed to me that as long as all your vitals are in check, you're getting enough nutrients, exercising, then bodies do have a variety in types. 90% of the desire to weight loss comes from an unacceptance of one's body. And that's no reason to pursue weight loss. If you have self-love, then that means either you're already doing everything you can to ensure your health, or you know that you are as healthy as you can be in this moment, given your circumstance, and that's enough too. Problem is, we've put so much importance on the appearance of our body. We forget the role of our body in our life. Our body is the vehicle for love to be delivered. And just like a driver is someone different than the car that they drive, it doesn't matter the size or shape of their car. Their car does not define who they are. Who they are is a source of love, of light. If their car takes them everywhere they need to go to deliver that, then that's a functional car. We take care of our body like we take care of a car, make sure that it gets its oil changes, brake checkups, put the right fuel in our car. That's great. If you want to keep it nice and shiny and redo the paint, then that's a bonus. But it's not necessary for the car to fulfill its purpose. In the same way, as long as our body is capable of bringing that soul within us everywhere it needs to go to bring love into people's life, then it's fulfilling its purpose. Anything more than that is a bonus. Dear Lakonen, you're wondering how much I read in general. Not much. Sometimes I read maybe Wikipedia articles or articles I find online about things that interest me, but most of my reading is through messages that people send me, and that includes all of you. I don't think I've ever read a book by myself. In my whole life, either I've had someone read a book to me or I read to someone else. So when it comes to literature, to me it's always a relationship between a reader and a listener. And when I'm by myself, I can only ever be one of those things at a time. So in the company of people, they may read things to me and I listen, or I read things to them and they listen. That's the extent of my reading. Dear Star Brants, you ask, do I think my love for mathematics was the catalyst that led me down my spiritual path? It indeed led me to spiritual things, but I was led to mathematics from earlier things too, and therefore everything in life becomes a continuum of leading us to places where we continue to seek the highest potential, the highest understanding, the highest knowledge. Ever since I was young, I always wanted to know what made things work. I'd take apart things, much to my parents' distress, and not know how to put it back together, mind you. That led me to want to understand the mechanics of things, the engineering. But of course, engineering comes from an understanding of physics, so I wanted to know what made the universe tick. But the universe seems to prefer the language of mathematics to express itself. So I wanted to know what gave that power of expression to mathematics. And from there, mathematics, a series of logical symbol manipulations. I wanted to know what gave logic its power to be so powerful. And eventually, I came to spirituality as the source of all things. Dear Fyodor lover, you wonder if we can talk deeply about existence and purpose in my next video. Such a big topic. I need something a little more specific to go off of. Existence is all that is. Purpose means finding value in all that we do. That includes everything. Want me to make a video on everything that is? Be a very long video. Thank you, it's all gravy, for your quintet of cloud breads too. Radhe Radhe. Alright. A wonderful introduction to this live stream so far. I like to begin my lives with a reading which we have yet to do. So I'd like to crack open the hidden power in humans to explore another aspect of chakras and kundalini from the philosophy of yoga. From this Himalayan yogi, Paramahansa Swami Maheshwarananda, the Guruji of one of our Sanghis. We've been exploring the nature of the highest chakra, which is the crown in the human system. Let's see where we left off. Here we are continuing our understanding of the Sahasrara Chakra, which is the crown, the highest in the human system. The union of Shiva and Shakti, the divine forces of the masculine and feminine, occurs when the stream of energy in the two main nadis, the rivers of spiritual current, Ida and Pingala, unite and rise through the Sushumna Nadi, which is our spinal column. There is, however, one important condition. As written in the chapter on the Anahata Chakra, the heart center, the seat of the Atma, the self, is in the heart, and the realization of the Atma, one's true self, takes place only when a simultaneous awakening of the Anahata Chakra and the Sahasrara Chakra occurs. With this, a direct connection from the Sahasrara Chakra to the Anahata Chakra, from the crown to the heart, through the Brahma Nadi, also known as the Jnana Nadi, the ultimate river of energy, or the river of knowledge, is established. If the Anahata Chakra is blocked and the flow of bhakti, love and devotion, has also dried up, the Sahasrara Chakra does not open. Only with the complete awakening of the Anahata Chakra does the flame of light, which is the Atma, rise from the heart and reach the level of divine consciousness, through the so-called door of Brahman. Then, in the ocean of Brahmagyan, the highest knowing wisdom, the 1,000-petaled lotus unfolds, and in its center the pearl of Param Shakti shines, which is the supreme divine power. Like a swan, the Jivatma dives into the splendor of eternal divine existence, the Jivatma being the individual soul. When it unites with the Supreme Self, its existence dissolves, just as a river loses its name when it flows into the ocean. Now it is in the sphere of pure consciousness. Its form is perfect divine consciousness and eternal divine bliss, Sat Chit Ananda, Svarupa Atma. The realized ones and saints of all ages have reached this level of consciousness, which cannot be described with words. When we are unable to see or experience anything in meditation, it is because our vision is obstructed by the barrier of the limited I, the personal pronoun. Through our Atma, or though our Atma is directly connected to God, and is, in fact, God, we are not yet conscious of this. We will again return to the image of the lotus. The root of the lotus represents Adi Shakti, the original divine power, which is located in the Muladhara Chakra. The blossom in the Sahasrara Chakra is Adi Shiva, the divine consciousness and supreme self. In Raja Yoga, the royal yoga, these two primal principles, known as Jivatma and Paramatma, they are known as Jivatma and Paramatma, the individual self and the supreme self. When they become one, it is said that we are one with ourself. Whereas, in reality, there is no distinction between them. The division is only apparent because we are not conscious of the real unity. And yet the Jivatma must wander along a lengthy and often very difficult path until it again discovers this oneness within the consciousness. The development of the consciousness progresses step by step, just like the seed of a lotus, when dropped into the soil, first produces a delicate bud, then continues to grow upwards towards the light. The journey leads from the root of the lotus, the Mula Prakriti, through the water, the world, which is Maya, material existence, upwards along the stem of the lotus, the different chakras and the levels of consciousness, until it finally reaches the blossom, the Sahasrara Chakra. All individuals travel along their own pathway, have their own history and their own experiences, but at the end all inevitably reach the same goal, the same truth, and the same reality. However, until then, it is a long journey. Only those who purposely follow the spiritual path throughout their life with consistency and discipline come through. Those who pursue happiness in the external world lose their way. Eternal, true happiness is found within us and not outside. Just as a stag runs after the scent of musk, not realizing it is he himself who is producing it, we seek fulfillment of our wishes in the external world, and we are not aware that everything we are missing and seeking is carried within us. As Saint Francis of Assisi so concisely expressed it, that for which they seek is that which searches. Only when we turn toward the inner self do we find fulfillment and peace. Seek only God. Do not look for spiritual sensations or siddhis, supernatural powers, or extraterrestrial adventures. Hand your life over to the divine and pray in this way: O Lord, may your will be done. May my destiny be fulfilled. The greatest happiness that can be bestowed upon us due to the actions in earlier lives is a meeting with a spiritual master. The masters assist us through techniques with which we are able to purify our inner field and open our consciousness to the divine light. They accompany us on all levels through our development, wherever our destiny takes us. Under the protection, our soul cannot be harmed, no matter what happens. Let's pause our reading of the hidden power in humans there for now, and we'll continue exploring the nuances of the Sahasrara Chakra next time. So, thank you for listening. Namaste. With that, we can open our Sangha up back again to discuss whatever is on our hearts and minds. I'm happy many of you enjoyed that reading. Welcome back, dear Stephen. Hello, dear Talon. I'm happy to hear that you are enjoying having a subscription. Dear Katura, you are wondering what the title of the book is again. The Hidden Power in Humans. Here, I'll put the third eye over my third eye. The Hidden Power in Humans. And thank you, dear Dr. Ginny, for another trio of roses and a tiny tiny. Yippee! Dear Dr. Ginny, you had written that you so long for us all to remember that we are all the source we seek. Very grateful to be a part of the journey home. Thank you, Wordsworm. And hello, Pleasant Moon. Nice to have you here too. I hope that reading was insightful for you. Dear X-Ray, before we started reading, You share that you watched my video on the meaning of Om and would like to understand more. Part 2 of your comment did not seem to come through, but I'm always happy to answer questions relating to the pranava, the omkar, the primordial syllable, Om. Hello, dear Andy. My day has been well so far. Thank you for asking. How has yours been? And how beautiful, dear Kristen. You share that whilst I read, you went outside and stargazed with your bare feet in the grass. Ah, I love that. May your body be grounded, but your spirit fly high, untethered. Hello, Kita Vanity. Dear Pleasant Moon, you ask what my input is about blockage, where you don't have nothing in mind, but you feel so empty. Ah. I notice many people use the term blockage to describe periods in which they feel maybe unconnected to source or spirit, or there's a challenging moment in expressing oneself. I have gone my life so far without using the term blockage in my spiritual vocabulary. Personally, I never see a moment where I feel blocked, yet I experience all the same things that you do. When I am feeling like there are negative sensations in my body and mind, I allow them to be. I let them happen because I know that nothing can block me. The feeling of being blocked, it is just that, a feeling, and not a reflection of one's true nature or connection to source. Sometimes we have days where there is a pain in the body, a thought that won't go away, a lump in our throat, and that's okay. That's human. That's a part of being alive. Our material nature is going to provide us challenges to work through so that we eventually find acceptance in all of the experiences of life. No need to label any moment as a blockage or an opening. There just is this moment. You are one with it. That feeling of emptiness is a feeling of openness, just described in a way of hoping for it to be filled. But it is from that emptiness that all spacious openings are created, and you invite new things in your life. Let the moment be as it is, beyond labels. Be happy, be free. We can spend the rest of our life trying to make our body and mind feel perfect, but it's a red herring. As we get older, we have to face the fact that our mind and bodies have limitations, and some days we're really going to feel that. And there's nothing we can do about it because there's nothing that can be done about it. Nor should there be anything done about that because that's a part of life. These challenges are not meant for us to feel like we're doing something wrong, not to give us some label of our life as a problem to be solved. Instead, we can find the value in each experience and grow every moment. Thank you, Peacefully My Own, for your heart, me too. Radhe or Radhe. And thank you, dear Gita, for your pair of tiny tinies too. Yippee! Dear Lala, happy to have you here always, and you're always welcome to express yourself. Dear Zach, you share that today is the appearance of Radha. Indeed. Last night, on the dawn of this morning, we did a mantra for her and her consort Krishna. Jai Shri Radha, Jai Shri Krishna. The form of the Divine Mother and Father in their most loving, compassionate, and attractive aspects. I'm happy to hear that resonated with you, dear Pleasant Moon. One does not have to remove any word from our vocabulary, but we can be curious to explore things in another way. If we are going to use labels and words, let us choose the ones that point to a possibility rather than a limitation. In every moment, even if we feel limited, there is a possibility in some other way too. In the same way that an artist finds creative expression through limitation, we may instead choose the words which reflect the possibilities that exist in our limited existence. We may give an artist every size of canvas, every shade of paint that's ever been discovered, every type, pastels, acrylic, oil. We may give her charcoal, we may give her all sorts of colored pencils, airbrushes. How about crayons too? Pencils galore, every kind of lead type. Let us give her every possible art medium that could possibly be used, and you ask her to make something. What will she make? Probably nothing. Until she limits her choices. If we give an artist only, let's say, the back of a napkin and a tube of lipstick, and we tell her to draw what she's feeling, oh, what a beautiful piece of art will be made from those limitations. So too in life, whenever we feel like we are limited, we are just like an artist, given a challenge. In order to think outside a box, we must first have a box to think outside of, as that inspires an expression. In the same way that if we take a river and we limit the cross-sectional area, maybe we take each bank of the river and pull them closer together. The same amount of water must flow, but now through a much smaller volume. And so because of that, the speed must be increased. The law of hydrodynamics, the law of fluids in general. You can consider our awareness, our conscious spirit, as a fluid too. And when we create the limitation for us to find even more expression, we increase the ability in which we are able to thrive. Just like that river, gushing ever so. Dear Stormy Ariel, you wonder where I got my shirt. From my mother. Hello, dear unidentified. From the other side of Canada. Hey? Dear Star Branch, you ask, how would I deal with resistance to taking action towards a goal because of fear? Resistance is a sign of growth. You cannot expect to grow without pushing against something. In the same way that plants grow up because gravity pulls down. That is your compass to show where you have to expand yourself. Fear is always going to be there. The sign of the brave is not an absence of fear. The desire to prove themselves much stronger than the fear to restrict themselves. So let that expansion of your soul take hold. Let it be more powerful than any fear. And know that the only thing to fear, the end of one's life, as if you had expressed yourself to the fullest. Let each moment be a possible wonder for you to experience. We just have to put ourselves out there. Nothing bad can happen to those that selflessly surrender their fear to the possibility of achieving wonder. Our body may be scraped, our mind may be bruised, but all of that happens when we have these abodes of flesh and bones that are temporary vehicles for us to find ultimate fulfillment through. Nothing ever touches your soul, the immortal Lord of the earth and skies, the very space of life itself. Dear Sovereign, you share that I'm helping you find habits that give you room to breathe. And how lovely is that? All effort that can be applied is done by you. You could never take credit for the growth that is possible within you. Loud, you thank God that this body, this mind is a temporary existence. If life were easy, what meaning there would be? Life is a challenge, because challenge proves that something is possible. It just requires applying ourselves. Without that difficulty, there would hardly be a life to live. Because what would we be working towards if no goal was to be met? What would we be growing into if there wasn't a space to be realized? What height would we have to reach? There was no upward direction. And hello, dear Sean. Dear Gregarji, you share, if our bodies are our particle form, our consciousness is our waveform. I like that. That's some beautiful symbolism in the wave-particle duality of physics. And I like everyone exploring what kind of fruit they have next to their yam badge. Nice to have you dear done, Suela. Flower, you wish life was easy. You'd like to win the lottery and not have to work a game. Seems as though that would solve all our problems. Recently, a $50 million lottery was won by one of my mother's friends. And with it, he bought a huge castle. And I've been in it. I think it was like a $10 million castle. And he showed me and my mother and my sister around. And there's just so much space for one person. It requires a whole house of people to take care of the property. And with it, he buys himself every kind of food, all the best kinds of entertainment that a rich person could have. And yet, he's one of the most miserable people I know. And I think it's an unfortunate pattern that so many people have all of their basic needs taken care of, and yet no purpose in their life. Because the true treasure is not in the material world, in our spiritual inner world. One can have nothing materially, but everything spiritually, and they are the happiest souls. But one can have everything materially and nothing spiritually, and they are the unhappiest souls. Thank you, just a name of sorts for your heartbeat. Hari Om Tat Sat. So many of us pursue money because we think it will bring us happiness. Because happiness can provide comfort and luxury. And because we know what it's like to be uncomfortable in poverty, we feel as though if that were to change, then we would be happy. But studies have consistently shown that it is not a successful life which brings us happiness. It's happiness that brings a successful life. All of those that wake up with joy in the morning, they are not so because they make all the right decisions, because they have a big house, a nice family, a nice car, a nice job, because their body is healthy, their mind is healthy, because they sleep right, they exercise. Their happiness is the cause of all that. We start in happiness. We don't end in it. No one ever ends up happy. But we all begin happy. It is from happiness that we make the best decisions. from happiness that we sleep better. From happiness, our physical health returns. From happiness, our mind becomes clear. From happiness, we make the best decisions in our relationships. From happiness, we pursue our dreams. Happiness is the cause of life, not the effect. So if happiness is what we're all working towards, why don't we become happy now? No one needs a reason to be happy, but yet we've given ourselves plenty of reasons to be unhappy. But a truly happy person, they may have 99 reasons to be unhappy, and they give themselves just one reason to be happy, and they run with that. Whereas unhappy people may have 99 reasons to be happy, and just one reason to be unhappy. They run with that. The source of your happiness could be something as simple as your next inhale. It could be experiencing your favorite color. It could be having just another day. It could be being next to a tree. Anything in this moment we can see as an expression of our joy. And slowly but surely we recognize happiness as something to express in this world rather than extract. Dear, it's all gravy, you ask. Could you argue that there can't be joy or happiness present without sorrow or sadness too? There is truth to that. And there is also truth to the realization that happiness is found even in moments of sadness. You don't believe me that it's possible to be sad and happy at the same time? Just ask someone who has discovered that they're pregnant. Or discovered that they got accepted to go away from their family and got into their dream university. Or whenever you've watched a sad movie, you signed up for the sadness. If the movie wasn't sad, you'd think it was a bad, sad movie. You want the movie to be sad because part of you enjoys sadness. We might not acknowledge it as a society, but every emotion deep enough down, the soul actually enjoys. That doesn't mean that we have to bring saddening experiences into our life, but it does mean that when we are sad, we can have faith that this is a vibrant expression of life. Somehow or another, there is happiness, even now, while I am bawling my eyes out. Happiness is like that sun that shines even on a cloudy day. We just might not see it directly. Yet all the light that's refracted in the clouds must come from the sun being up there somewhere. So too happiness, even when clouded by other emotions, must be the illuminator of all experiences. Dear Samra, you share that you're happy at funerals. because there is so much love, support, and connection. Sad, happy. Dalen, you share that you're sad and happy right now. Sad day, but happy you're here with us all. Thank you for that. Laura, you share that your cat is sitting on you and that makes you happy. How can I have hate in my heart then? Oh, how mystical are these furry feline friends. All it takes is a little vibration from them and we start asking ourselves these questions. How could I have any hate in my heart when there's something so precious and lovely as this furry feline friend on me? That's beautiful. Happy night and good morrow, dear Stephanie. I like that switch up. Thank you, dear Ushabai, for your beautiful hand hearts and 7 roses. Here's some for you and your Gurudev. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. Dear Jessie, you're wondering if I could share some info about the mantra that I shared the other night. Om Kali Mahakali. Oh yes. Om Kali Mahakali Kali Ke Parameshwari Sarvananda Kare Devi Narayani Namostute. It's a very audacious, is that a word? Yeah. Audacious, ostentatious, bodacious mantra. The mantra is meant to empower the feminine. Not just any form of the feminine, the part of the feminine that gets suppressed. Kali, the dark side. There is some standards we have in our society that the feminine should be light and fluffy and lovely and never raising her voice, etc. Kali goes against all those norms. She is pictured stepping on the masculine with 1,000 arms, 1,000 heads, and each of them her tongue is out and blood pours from her. Are you so scared of blood? I experience it every 28 days. Let blood pour from every orifice of mine. That's the dark side of the feminine. Kali. So the mantra begins, Om Kali, Mahakali, the great Kali. Kali Ke, to Kali, Parameshwari. We attribute to her the supreme title of Lord. Ishvara means Lord, Parama means supreme, Parameshwari means the great Lord. Om Kali Mahakali Kali Ke Parameshwari Sarvananda Kare Devi, giver of bliss to everyone. Narayani, this is perhaps the most bold part of the mantra. This is the mantra that if anything is going to piss off the masculine. Because Narayan is a name for God. Narayan means, literally means the masculine. Narayani is changing the ending of Narayan to refer to the masculine as a form of the feminine. In other words, that's the word that says God is a woman. Narayani. Namostute means salutations to her. So that is a very powerful mantra to awaken Kundalini, the dormant feminine energy. Om Kali Mahakali Kali Ke Parameshwari Sarvananda Kare Devi Narayani Namostute. You'll notice that that description may rouse sensations in you, and that's the point. The point is exactly to do that. Thank you, Bilbo Baggins, for your 10 roses too. Radhe, Radhe. I can share the mantra in writing. I wonder if I have room for it in a comment. I'll try. Okay, I typed it in chat. If that comes through, let me know. Otherwise, I can show it on screen in a different way. And dear Gregarji, you share, that's one of the best beats just by the rhythm of the vocalization. It is indeed very rhythmic too. Dear It's All Gravy, you ask, what defines good versus bad, and right and wrong as a person, in my opinion? In my opinion, a person, a human being, neither right nor wrong. There are no right people or wrong people. In the same way, there are no good people or bad people. There are just people. What we refer to as good or bad comes down to the action, doesn't it? There are actions which are inclusive and there are actions which are exclusive. Inclusive means taking into consideration all of life. Exclusive means we're somehow excluding some part of life. We may call that inclusive, exclusive, instead of good and bad. But I think it speaks to the same thing. That when we say someone is engaging in something good, they must be engaging in something inclusive. And when we say someone is engaging in something bad, it means that they could be more inclusive. So on one hand, we're pointing out an acknowledgement, and the other hand, we're pointing out a possibility. Either an acknowledgement of inclusivity or a possibility of inclusivity. And we all have the possibility to be more inclusive. Does that make us bad? And we also have come so far in our inclusivity too. Does that make us good? It means that we're on a journey of more and more inclusivity. And let us continue to be more inclusive day by day. Dear Spirit, you are wondering if we can pray for you. Of course. We can take a moment to pray for everyone who is experiencing suffering. Though prayer by itself is not enough, always actionable decisions must be made. Let our prayer serve as a conscious seed to embed itself in the fertile soil of our subconscious, to blossom into the sweet aroma of love and the fruitful awakening of healing. May all those whom need our awareness, whom we need to guide our awareness to, receive our love. May, as if by miracle, we touch the hearts of those around the world, no matter how isolated or disconnected they may be. Imagine in this moment someone, anyone, suddenly having the feeling rush over them of being okay, that things are going to be okay. And let us empower that thought with the memory of a time in which we suddenly felt like things were going to be okay after who knows how long we spent suffering. Just as then we may have been the recipient of another's prayer, let us carry that torch, plant the seeds of love and healing. Amen. Good night, dear Chris M. Dear Snow Tigers, yes, you may ask if I am a student of a particular tradition or lineage, or do I enjoy several paths. I am a student of my life, and my life is unique to me, and many people have crossed paths with me, and I hope to continue learning from everyone. Dear Gregarji, would I read you a story from my funny dream journal? I'm not sure I know where that is. I used to have an app for that, and I think some of them have been put on the cloud. I don't have a physical journal. I'd have to look for some digital stories, but I can certainly tell you some of my dreams. I can tell you about the story of the cat with glowing eyes. If you're interested in hearing that. It's all gravy. You asked if I believe I found inner peace. I believe there's always more peace to find within. And dear Bryce, thank you. You ask where I start, where I started in my spiritual journey. Right now is where the journey begins. Dear Bobby Sue, you share that a prayer hands emoji would be an awesome addition to my emotes. Well, I'll happily consider it for you, dear Bobby Sue. Alright, I can tell you the story of the cat with glowing eyes. It's a very long dream. It starts with me having planned for years this expedition into the jungle of some probably Central American society, like the Aztecs or like the Mayas. I was like Indiana Jones, and I had assembled a team according to clues scattered around various manuscripts, the existence of some temple of cats that existed in an unknown place, only known by the indigenous of that area. So there are many flights, trains, passing through various towns and villages until eventually we get to the jungle where I believe this temple of cats was found. According to this ancient map, finally I found this tunnel which appeared to bear the iconography of the temple of cats. And so I looked around at my associates. I said, this is it. And so we started wandering into this tunnel. And as we brung our torches deeper and deeper into the dark, another light was approaching us from the end in tandem, like as if there were a mirror halfway through. But our light was orange and red, and it flickered with the flame. The light at the end was constant, and it was lime green, maybe yellow. And it hovered at exactly the same height. As we continued to approach whatever this source of light is, and it continued to approach us, eventually we met in the middle. And we found that the light source at the tunnel was this floating cat, and it had bright, glowing eyes. And we felt like we were in contact with this spiritual being that evaded our understanding. Clearly, it defied the laws of physics in a myriad of ways. We understood that this floating cat was greeting us, and so it spun 180 degrees and started guiding us down the tunnel. Eventually, we wandered into this great room. It was like an amphitheater, and it had about 24 seats made of stone all around. And in many of the seats hovered above another cat with glowing eyes. And there were many of them here. They lived in this temple. This had been their ancestral throne and home. And there were enough empty seats for all of us. We were being ushered to sit in these seats. So one by one, all of my associates sat in the seat. And as soon as they did, another glowing cat would hover right in front of their head, and this beam of energy would pour into their eyes, and it looked like they were being electrocuted. You couldn't tell if it was electricity or ecstasy. I was scared, but I had to sit down too. These were beings beyond our comprehension. So I sat down in the stone seat too, and just as I did that, whoop, a cat hovered right in front of my eyes, and its eyes glowed like the light of 1,000 suns, and pouring into me was like the energy of the universe. And still to this day, it was the most energetically intense phenomenon I had ever experienced. Even in dream, I felt like my whole being, down to the core of my soul, was being shaken. It was so much that in the dream I passed out, and there was this darkness. Then I awoke, but not into real life, into another layer of my dreams. And it was nighttime, and above me was this whole constellation of stars in the shape of some UFO. And then it moved across the sky, and I passed out again. And I awoke for a second time, again into another layer of dream. And I was in a childhood house of mine. This aircraft approached my house, and it started laying fire onto the house, and it burst in flames, lots of explosions, and I ran out with my sister. We ran down to the beach, because at the time I lived on beachfront property. But while we were looking back at a distance from our house being destroyed, we thought of our parents still trapped in that house. So I thought that we had to return to go get them. So we got in a car, and my sister got in the driver's seat, and I got in the passenger seat. And then I said, "Wait a second, you don't know how to drive." She said, "Oh, that's right." And so we got out and we swapped places. And then we started driving. And then I thought, you know what, this is going to be too slow. So we got out of the car. And I started jumping from rooftop to rooftop. I had felt like I gained that ability from the cat with the glowing eyes. Now I could float over the rooftops just like the cats. And when we arrived, it was like that scene in Star Wars, Episode 4, where Luke sees his house of his aunt and uncle destroyed. And I knew that my parents had died in the fire. So I wandered through the rubble, depressed. I sat amidst the rocks of the shore, and I felt like my whole being was leaving my body. So sad. I didn't know what to do. But then suddenly I felt inspired that I would use this as a pivotal moment in my journey. That I would become stronger, wiser. I would become the person my parents would have wanted me to be. And as I turned around, I tried to climb up the rubble, but at this point I was so tired I couldn't do it. But then I felt like I was being pulled higher and higher. And I turned around, and it was the floating cat again. And so I was so happy to see this cat. And again, the cat locked eyes with me, and the brilliant glow of 1,000,000 stars shone through its eyes again, and I felt my whole being energized by this glowing cat. And then I woke up, and for real that time. And that was the story of the Temple of Cats with glowing eyes. And ever since that night in my dreams, I had felt strangely moved at a spiritual level, as if I had been given some great gift by the cat gods. I still have yet to know what exactly it is. Yeah, that was one of my dreams I had a few years ago. I hope you enjoyed that story. Thank you, dear Kichi, for your pair of roses too. Hari Om Tat Sat. Wow, a cat guru touched your soul, shared Katura. Must have been. And JV, thank you for your finger heart too. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. Welcome back, Stephen. Dear JV, you ask, can I share about finding peace with anxiety? Anxiety leads one to peace. This is true in my experience, that our threshold for peace becomes lowered in our anxiety. Many of us have such high thresholds for peace that to be peaceful we have to have all these things in order first. But I'm telling you, nothing is more humbling than anxiety. In anxiety, you start letting go of some of these criteria points. You go, you know what? I just want to go a day without being anxious. That's my criteria for being peaceful. If I can go a day without anxiety, that's a peaceful day. Mashallah. And then it becomes, if I can go an hour without an anxiety attack, that's a peaceful hour. If I can go a minute, I can go a second. And eventually, when time becomes so one-pointed, if this moment I am free of anxiety, that is a peaceful moment. we've reached a threshold for something beautiful to happen. And then when anxiety seems like it won't go away, and we're forced to give up even that criteria, thus we look for something peaceful even in the anxiety. What was that for me? For me, it was having an ability to have a clear mind, at least, some sort of clarity. And when that wasn't possible, I surrendered even the mind. What can I find peace in then, if I can't have any clarity of mind? Then I discovered something that I can never be separate from. And because of that, I know there is a source of peace within us always. And what was that? It sounds so cheesy, you guys are gonna laugh. Do I have the ability to be a kind person? In this moment, do I have the ability to be kind? If the answer is yes, that's a peaceful moment. If I have the possibility of being kind, that's enough for me to be peaceful. Even if my mind is drowning in all these thoughts, if I have the capacity to be kind, that's enough for me. Kindness to my cat. If I have the ability to stretch out my arm and pet my cat, even if I'm anxious, that's enough for me. If I have the ability to say hi to my mother, my father, I'm happy with that. If in this moment I can give my body some kindness, that's a beautiful moment. And if I have some ability to empathize with those who are also experiencing suffering, then everything I go through is worth it. Because I know how hard it is to feel like you are alone. And that's the most ironic thing about our suffering, is that if you can remember how many others are also suffering, then you feel never alone. Because even in that moment, you are bonded beyond time and space with everyone else who is suffering. And as the experience passes, we have gained something, not lost. We have gained the ability to empathize, to be there for someone, and tell them that I've made it through that, and so can you. Thank you, JV, for your finger heart. Here's one for you too. Hari Om Tat Sat. Billy, you ask, what if your mental health is so bad right now that you could only think of trying to save yourself and you have nothing left to give your kids? Then you give your kids the best thing of all, which is a mother that shows them the value of taking care of themselves. We can show our children love, but one day this physical presence is not going to be there for them. We have to teach them how to love themselves. We do so by loving ourselves. And that's the greatest gift that a mother can give. You teach them that it's okay to struggle with one's mental health, and that you're allowed to take time to yourself. You show them just how vital that is. Dear Gem Life, thank you for your half a dozen roses too. Radhe Radhe. Dear JV, you ask, you wish your heart would stop racing fast and it could be controlled. Is that possible? I would use another word than controlled, but directed? Absolutely. Our heartbeat lives at the precipice between our parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, also known as our voluntary and involuntary nervous system. It's very much a part of our cardiovascular system. The blood pumps fresh oxygenated blood into cells that need it, and deoxygenated blood out of cells that have used it. Gets that oxygen from our breath, and our breath is something that we can direct. You may notice that an elevated heart rate often comes with rapid or shallow breathing, and at the same time, slower heart rate corresponds to smooth, rhythmic breathing. And this is a biconditional relationship. When our heart is racing, we can slow it by slowly breathing too. And on the converse, you can also raise your heart rate by breathing really fast. I don't recommend that though. It doesn't happen instantly. It can take place over minutes. And over those minutes, that can be the most that we can do. And that's enough to continue bringing our awareness back to our breath. Deep, natural breathing. You might notice that it's hard to breathe in deeply or exhale without a kind of stuttery, different levels of contraction or expansion, as if you were going up and down a staircase where you breathe in a little bit and then even more, and then it gets stuck, and you breathe out and you go deeper. If you try to make that process smoother and smoother, then it gets easier. Try to release all that tension that's preventing us from breathing in deeper and deeper. And as we exhale, we just release. No need to push it out. That air has nowhere to be right now. The air itself is not in a rush to leave your body. By the natural pressure of the atmosphere, we just let go of our diaphragm, our abdominal muscles, and the air escapes. And we fill our tummy like a balloon. Tummy breathing is associated with relaxation. You can put one hand on your chest, one hand on your tummy, and breathe in. You'll notice that we can make our chest expand or our tummy expand. That was a chest breath. Here's a tummy breath. Tummy breathing is very good for anxiety. And thank you, Emmy, for your tiny a moment ago too. Yippee! And Dr. Jenny, thank you for your trio of roses. Om Dum Durgaye Namaha. Dear Hybrid Jen, thank you for your 11 roses too. Radhe Radhe. Spirit, you ask if I can please sing for you. I can sing to you the Gayatri mantra. Om Bhur Bhuvasvaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. Please excuse my singing if it wasn't in tune. Hello, Katarina. Welcome, dear. Dr. Ginny, you share that calling it a tummy is very good for anxiety too. Yes. Stomach, oh, what a word that is. But tummy, big fan of the word tummy. Emmy, thank you for your trio of roses that you sent in addition. Ariom Tatsat. And JV, thank you for your finger heart, your cloud bread and your bubble tea. Om Gang Ganapataye Namaha. Thank you, Dalen. I'm very appreciative of your presence here too. It's all gravy. And Hybrid Jen, thank you for your disco love. Radhe Krishna. In Star Branch, you had mentioned that body scans are good for anxiety too. They can be very helpful as well. I know that when you are anxious, it's hard to not be overwhelmed by all the different techniques and whether they work or not. Sometimes the more techniques we know, the more anxious we become because we get overwhelmed by all of them. And if one of them doesn't work, oh no, will any of the others either? But that's just another way that anxiety can our awareness from trust and love and patience, that we trust that it's okay if another technique might be more suitable for this moment, and love the fact that we even had the option to try that in the first place. And we are patient that there are always going to be other solutions. Pate Macaroni, you're wondering what my microphone is. My microphone is a Blue Yeti microphone. It's very cheap as far as microphones go. It's USB, meaning that you don't need some power supply for it or a soundboard. You can just plug it straight into a USB outlet. Dear Katura, you ask if I can please share what is overwhelm and how does one overcome. Feeling of overwhelm is something that we've all experienced. It's when we're trying to keep track of all the moving pieces in our life and we realize that it's too challenging for us. Overwhelming sensations mean that we've blown past our threshold for experience, that we've seen a lot, we've heard a lot, we've felt a lot, we've thought a lot, we've maybe smelt a lot or tasted a lot. And that comes with overstimulation. There's a temporary solution and a more long-term solution. In the moment, we can withdraw from these overwhelming experiences. We can put ourselves in a position of not having to do a lot, not having to see a lot, hear a lot, taste a lot, smell a lot, touch a lot, think a lot. That is, we give our senses some room to recharge We can do that in the moment. But in the long term, what we can do is allow ourselves to be more sensitive with curiosity, with trust. What that practically means is that we bring to mind knowledge that we're allowed to be here. We don't have to have everything figured out. Life is always going to have things that we could be more aware of, and that's okay. All of these senses, they are active because we're sensitive human beings, but we don't have to analyze them. We don't have to feel like we're in danger, even though it may seem that we are, with the entourage of experiences happening or responsibilities that we seemingly have to fulfill. It's not selfish to take time to yourself to heal, to recharge. On the spiritual path, naturally we become more sensitive. It seems like our eyes just become capable of perceiving more and more color, more and more depth. Our soundscape seems to include so much more. Our thoughts become so much more diverse. All of our senses increasingly become sensitized. And naturally that comes with it the feeling of having to keep track of more and more things. But that is a residual of our previous way of being. In material life, we try to minimize all the distractions in life. We try to keep our life in terms of simple criteria. We put everything in boxes. Wake up at the same time. We see all the same people. We have the same belief system. We go to the same job. We try to keep everything on track. Keep track of everything. But in spiritual life, we go beyond that. We start shedding these layers and we get newer and newer experiences. So many more people come in and out of our life. The ways in which we find value change. Our belief systems evolve. Our thoughts become different. Everything about our life begins to open up. And while it's expanding, if we're continually trying to keep track of everything, then we'll just explode. Because we simply can't look at the world in the same way we did when things were smaller and simpler. So, at some point, we surrender. We let go. We allow all the sounds to be there, all the sights, all the people, all the thoughts, all of the changing parts of this moment. And we take a deep breath in. And we take a deep breath out. And we know that we're not defined by any of them. We are the awareness itself, the space in which the whole universe appears to us. We are that unchangeable background. Just like watching a movie. No matter how much action appears on screen, we know that the screen itself is unaffected. When you went into theaters watching the Oppenheimer movie, you thought that this bomb was so powerful, maybe the theater would explode. Even though it was so loud, so bright, the bomb didn't touch the screen at all. It was merely light being refracted off of it. In a very similar way, we are like that screen. At the deepest level, spirit means the space in which it happens. Soul means the place in which it occurs. Consciousness means the room for life to happen. Awareness means the envelope of experience. You are that, as abstract as it sounds, because you are the container of this whole perception. So no matter what is perceived, no perception can touch you as the perceiver. That knowledge of oneself saves one from being overwhelmed. You are the Atma, true self. Thus we have described body consciousness of being overwhelmed and the soul consciousness perspective of being overwhelmed. The soul can never be overwhelmed, but our bodies and minds, absolutely. So we must take good care of them too. Dear Billy, you share that when you're upset and you tell me about it, my answer always frees your tears. Aww. And you are always welcome to cry. I think tears are so beautiful. And I'm so grateful that I get a chance to hear your story, to know what you're going through. That's an honor. Hello, Maisky Whiskey. You're very welcome, dear spirit. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Dr. Ginny, for your trio of roses too. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. How's about we read a poem from the pocket Rumi, a wonderful poet and Sufi mystic. I think you'll enjoy this, and then we can return back to everything we were talking about. Let's read this one. This poem by the dear Sufi mystic Rumi is titled Beyond Appearances. Short and sweet. Everyone can distinguish mercy from wrath, whether they are wise, ignorant, or corrupt. But a mercy hidden in wrath, or wrath hidden in the heart of mercy, can only be recognized by one whose heart contains a spiritual touchstone. How beautiful. In the wrath of life may appear as though we are not being afforded mercy. But even in the most challenging times in our life, we have been given a freedom to explore something that may not have been explored otherwise, a challenge to overcome, a lesson to learn, a deep aspect of our being to uncover. Hidden in that wrath, there is mercy. And other times when it may feel as though we are surrounded by comfort, the mercy of material existence, we imprison ourselves by the wrath of attachment. And in those moments also, we hide from our true self and wall up the world so that we may not escape our comfort zones. Hidden therein, the mercy and wrath, wrath and mercy. Amen. Thank you for listening. That was a fun interim. May your life be filled with positivity, dear Spirit. Dr. Ginny, you share that I would also love the poet Mary Oliver. Thank you. Coming from such an esteemed poet as yourself, I will have to keep her in mind. And dear Hybrid Jen, you share that you've been craving a fire. You need to make one. Regardless of an external flame being born or not, let the flame of compassion ignite in your heart and spread its embers across the whole of the world. And dear Fred Eborg, you asked, what did I mean by the soul not being overwhelmed? I refer to that part of your being which is changeless. Everything that exists with a beginning is subject to change and has an end too. All of our thoughts, belief systems, philosophies, ideologies, all of our relationships, all of our senses, they are all subject to change. But who is the subject of change? Who is the witness that gets to experience all the coming and going? If it were coming and going like the rest, how would we be able to perceive change? There must be some center, a point of stillness, from which movement is seen. There must be some point of sound which is silent, from which sound is heard. There must be some point of color which is dark, from which light can be experienced. In any system that has a variety of experiences, there must be one unchanging reference point which is unaffected by the change. Only then can all that change be experienced. So too, in this system we call a human being, the human is always changing. With it, stages of being underwhelmed, overwhelmed. But what is the reference point? That you are as the ever still witness. Even when it doesn't feel like that. It is just that we have placed our sense of self in something beyond us. And thus we have to reel again, like the hook on a fishing rod, back so that we can cast it out into the oceans of the world again. But we are on the shore, free from the cacophony of waves crashing. The shore of the soul, stable, firm. Thank you, dear Hybrid Jen, for your campfire that you sent too. Speaking of a fire. Hari Om Tat Sat. And dear Puzzle, thank you for your capital. Om Shrim Mahalakshmiyai Namaha. Thank you, dear Starlight Wow, for your flowers too. Very kind of you. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Dear Bryce, you ask if I have any book recommendations for anxiety and centering oneself. Sometimes when I have been anxious, I crack open the Bhagavad Gita, and that makes me feel better. Particularly the chapter where, well, the chapters, plural, where Arjuna is anxious. For example, the first chapter, he's very anxious. Anxious about the conflict that he is engaged in. And then in the 11th chapter too, Arjuna is overwhelmed by the whole of the universe appearing before him at once in a grand vision. Arjuna is overwhelmed by the whole of the universe appearing before him at once in a grand vision. And if my connection has returned, please let me know, as it cut out there for a moment. One of my favorite parts of the Bhagavad Gita comes when Arjuna starts bargaining with the soul of the universe, Krishna. He had asked the universe to reveal its cosmic form all at once. And after seeing it at some point, Arjuna says, I am delighted by seeing what has never been seen before, but also my mind is unsettled with fear. O Lord, please show that previous form to me. Previously, Krishna showed up as just a cousin in his life. And as a cousin, he looked like a human being with 2 arms and whatnot. Please show that previous form to me. Be gracious, O Lord of Lords, O shelter of the universe. I wish to behold you as before, crowned, wielding a mace with a disc in hand, in at least that 4-armed form, if not that human-like 2-handed form, which is the bargaining. Just come back to something I'm familiar with. Please appear thus, O 1,000-armed one, O Vishwamurte. Knowing that Arjuna was so bewildered, my bewilderment feels a little better. I feel less alone in that. I am unfamiliar with that, dear flower. I'm happy to hear you've been enjoying it though. Yeah, everything everywhere all at once. That was surely the experience of dear Arjuna. Quite remarkable, dear Gregarji, just how small of a part the Bhagavad Gita is in the Mahabharata. About 800 verses from a story with 80,000. You're telling me 1% of that story is just this, the Bhagavad Gita. But it's the best part though. Thank you, dear Bryce, for your galaxy. Very kind of you to send such a generous gift, which is never expected, but deeply humbling. And I hope to use this as a recognition of just how much more is possible in this space as the journey has just begun together. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. Spirit, you ask if I can please be here every evening. I will do my best. And dear Flower, you wonder if I watch the Game of Thrones. I'm unfamiliar with that show. But yeah, Gregarji, you share that in the Mahabharata, it said there's either 9, 22, 24, 25, or 60 Gitas, depending on how you categorize. Amazing. So much wisdom just in one of those songs. One of these days, I really want to listen to the Uddhava Gita, which is just like the Bhagavad Gita in that Krishna is the speaker, the singer of the song. But instead of talking to Arjuna, who is a Kshatriya, he is a warrior. He represents someone who is not yet enlightened. Uddhava is said to already have been enlightened. And so the kinds of questions that Uddhava asks Krishna are just, what kind of questions an enlightened being asks? What questions remain, right? We think of enlightenment as a time in which our deepest questions have been resolved. But if an enlightened being were to have a chance to ask Sri Krishna questions, that's the story of the Uddhava Gita. I'll give you an example of one of the questions that Uddhava asked that I do know of. Uddhava asked Krishna, why are there so many religions? And Krishna's answer was so beautiful. Krishna said there are as many religions as there are people on this planet. Because everyone has a unique experience of the truth. Then Uddhava asked, and which of them is right? Sri Krishna said, by the way, Sri Krishna represents God. So Uddhava is asking God, which religion is right? And do you know what God says? God says none of them. Uddhava is taken aback. He says, none of them? They're all false? And then that's when Sri Krishna jokes a little. He said, okay, Maybe not none of them. But it's that none of them can take you to me without love in your heart, without devotion for the source of life that exists before you now in this form, but before you always in the form of everyone and everything. That the one true path is not known by any other name than bhakti, than loving devotion for the source within everyone and everything. I'm paraphrasing. Thank you, dear Mermander, for your heart me and little crown. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hello, Sanmarkam Life. Was it you who sent me the message on Telegram the other day of the faith that you follow? I enjoyed reading about that which you speak of, called Arut Perum Jyoti, the flame, light. Love that. The story of its founder is very beautiful, and I see many connections between many religions around the world that we like to explore in the Sangha. And I'm grateful that you've added a new one for me to find the truth into. Thank you, dear Dr. Jenny, for your trio of roses too. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. And Samrat, thank you for your hanging lights as well. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Thank you for sharing your Sanmarkan life. I hope to continue finding value in the Suddha Sanmarkam tradition, as I will many other traditions around the world, as they each have a unique addition to the global discussion of our meaning here in this experience we call life together. I love that its founder had a sudden realization simply on staring at the flame of a lamp. And I love how he saw that flame as something which spoke much more deeply than any form of a statue or a painting or an image. And I was really moved by his words of there not truly being any religion in particular has all the answers. If anything, sometimes it can have obstacles on the path rather than having a way to take us on our path to the source. Your Starlight, wow, you're wondering what faith am I talking about? I am talking about the Suddha Sanmarkam, arising from southern India, in and around Tamil Nadu. A very deep section of the Dravidian culture that took place thousands of years ago. But it's a relatively recent movement arising from the 19th century. Thank you, dear Bryce, for the galaxy you sent to. Very kind of you. Again, for gifting something so vibrant in terms of what it symbolizes, as well as material value, which I recognize as something that I can use to continue to support this body, this mind, and the people I love, and that includes you. Dum Durgaye Namaha. Thank you, Anna Pauls, for your Harp Me and 9 Roses. Radhe Radhe. Live Wire. You wonder what we talk about here. What would you like to talk about? Allow me to amplify something important to you. Chihiro, you wonder, do I chat with randoms on Telegram? I don't consider anyone random. And if anyone wishes to ask me a question that I can't answer here, or would like me to expand on something, then you're always welcome to reach out to me. That's why those other platforms are there, as an extension to my live stream, so that I can be there for you in other ways. Dear Mermander, you would like me to tell you all something good. You know what's good? What's good is that you keep your heart open to goodness. You continue to ask questions in the direction of possibility. We open ourselves up to the potential that exists, and we strive to fall in love with the infinitude of expression that we have the distinct honor finding within us. In Katura, you ask if I visited India. My heart sure has. My body just has yet to catch up. And hello, dear Rachel. Thank you for sharing your love. Matt, you share that you like turtles and painting. I love that. I have to ask the next obvious question then. Have you ever painted a turtle? If not, you've got the most perfect opportunity to bridge your interests. You like turtles as well, Christopher. I'm happy to hear that. You have painted turtles, dear Matt. Oh, good. Well, if you're interested in sharing, I'd love to see it. Painting of a turtle. Anyone else who has any creative interests, I have a link in the link tree in my bio that's called the Show and Tell application, and you get to drop images or PDFs or videos of something that matter to you. Maybe it's a song, maybe it's a painting, and I hope to use this space to share something that you find beauty in. Speaking of which, I would love to do one of those show and tell sessions with you. Right now. As many of you know, we like to read through the Pocket Pema Chodron on this live, going through some words of wisdom. We recently finished all 108 verses from that book, and in honor of that, our dear Sangi, Gregarji, has made something special for her. He has written a song. I don't know if you call it anything specific, but it's a rendition of the Buddhist mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, which means the jewel at the center of the lotus. And so I'd like to share with you all Gregarji's song. It comes along with an image, which you'll see, of Gregarji's pup, which is very cute. I just have to make sure that you can hear it, so I'll just turn down the music that we've been listening to. And my apologies, my phone is also vibrating at the same time, which is good that I caught it now, so that we can give our undivided attention to this offering to Pema. Without further ado, I will show the picture and song.
This song is brought to you by Open G Tuning. The G stands for Gita. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Om Mani Padme 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 Namaste, Jai Pema, and thank you all for listening.
The jewel at the center of the lotus. I'm very honored to have this space in which I get to share such beautifully intended compositions, especially out of reflection of the wisdom of dear Pema Chodron, who has certainly been a staple of our live streams for the past few months. So thank you, dear Gregarji. I love the rhythm behind the words and how you took time out of your day to compose that. Om Mani Padme Hum. Namaste. You are making yourself to be quite the jewel at the center of the lotus. Allow me to bring our sounds back too. And such a cute pup too. The canine friend can be called Bobaji or Babaji. I like that. I like that you included Bobaji. Thank you for that. Yes, Bob. I see. Babaji. I like that you included Bobaji. Thank you for that. Yes, Bob. I see. Babaji. There, I think my connection has returned. Hopefully. I'm glad that it cut out there, not during Gregarji's song. Hello. You're welcome to check out the, what do I call it? The show and tell application in the link tree in my bio. Thank you, dear Anna, for your heart me and 9 roses earlier, and dear Bryce for another whole galaxy. We're really collecting them today. We got the Milky Way, Andromeda, Triangulum. I think that's the extent of the galaxies that I'm aware of. Anyone else know some more galaxy names? I have to start naming them. Thank you, dear Bryce. Om Namo Buddhaya. Thank you, dear Kazki, for your heart me as well. Hare Krishna. Good morning from England. Hello, Shakira. You just saw the new Beetlejuice movie? How was that? I hope you enjoyed yourself. Tell me one thing that stood out to you. Maybe something symbolic that spoke to your heart. I would love to hear. Laur, you know the Super Mario Galaxy. Yeah, that's another one. And there's a galaxy a long time ago, very far away. Star Wars Galaxy. You did like it, dear Shakira. I'm happy to hear that. And hello, the Bobcat. You were also named Bob. And hello, Patrick. Bryce, you had shared that Gregarji's song sounded like Iroh's song from Avatar. You know what? I think I know what you're talking about, and I see the resemblance. I hear the resemblance. Yeah, I forget exactly what that is, but it does give me Uncle Iroh vibes. That's for sure. You've gained another nickname now, dear Gregarji. You are Gardening Gregor Uncle Iroh Elmoji. Shakira, you really liked that the Beetlejuice movie was like a mother-daughter bonding movie. I love that, and I wouldn't have guessed that. I'm happy you saw that. Dear Bubble Cat, you shared that I look like the singer/guitarist from one of your favorite bands, the Smashing Pumpkins. Oh, I'm so happy to remind you of your favorite things. Gardening Gregor Iroh G. Yes. Gregarji, oh, you know the name of that one, Leaf from the Vine. And it's one of your first songs that you learned on guitar, actually. Ah, there you go. How perfect. Oh, that makes me happy to know. Flower, you like making people laugh, brings you joy. One of the reasons you're still here. I love that for you. Yes. You are very good at it. And I trust that the laughter that you bring is one of the reasons that many people are still here. Now we are coming to a time which is appropriate for landing the plane today. So I think I will start going through the motions of bringing this Sangha to a close. Pardon me. I hope that everyone here has enjoyed their time and that the space is one in which I affirm to you, you have been welcome in, and I'm so grateful to be here with you. To start, I would like to reflect back on the question of the day today, which is, how do we give ourselves the space to grow? And dear, okay, you asked, how do you make your sensitiveness a good thing? You share that you feel stuck and you find that you only see it as a negative. You know, that's a question that is very relevant to the question of the day. I would like to say that your sensitivity is a reminder of just how deeply aware of life you are, and I love that about you. Your sensitivity speaks to a deepness of your soul and an ability to experience things that many people only see the surface of. But perhaps as we unpack this question of the day, we can explore some things relating to the space that you allow yourself to be sensitive in, and through that you find a lot of growth. So I hope some of the answers speak to you. Namaste, Flower. Samra, you share forgiveness of oneself and for others. Forgiveness is such an opening, isn't it so? Aski, making time for yourself to reflect is an aspect that you share today. Indeed. I love the connection between space and time. Sometimes what it just means to give oneself space is to give oneself time. Sometimes what it means to give oneself time is to give oneself space. As Einstein said, it's all part of one cosmic tapestry we call the fabric of the universe, space-time. Sovereign, you share that a great way to find space for growth is by venturing inward in solitude outside. I like that. Connect the inside and the outside by our venturing. Beautifully put. And a point in you share, where there is love, we must live on, and where there is not, we must provide it. Oh, beautifully said. Thank you for that. Dr. Ginny, you share, to give ourselves space to grow, make a garden of our lives, bodies, and experiences. Oh, I like your gardening metaphor. Well said. XO Vanessa, you share, taking accountability. I love that. Specifically, I love how you've connected accountability with growth. Sometimes we might feel like it's a kind of punishment, but truthfully, it opens up space for us to grow in ways that perhaps we didn't have the opportunity of before. Yeah. Kaski, you share, bathe in nature. Nature can tell you a lot about space and how you can make the most of it to grow. You add forgiving ourselves and others. Such a vital part of growth indeed. Thank you for being here, Jalela. Your name is very fun to say. Jalela, Layla, Layla. Gardening Gregarji, you share that you heard a new avatar is coming out. Really? I assume you mean of The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. Bryce, you share forgiveness for our past mistakes. Oh, so important. I'll read that twice. Forgiveness for our past mistakes. Told of love, you share being curious about our triggers, resistances, and fears. I very appreciate your word choice of curiosity. Yeah. What a wonderful feeling that is, to be curious, even to those things that we feel averse from. Makes sense, averse from. Anyway, you know what I mean. Boyton, you share, a feeling lives in every soul, and the more you love, the more you know. Greta Van Fleet, a quote from a wonderful being named Greta Van Fleet. I'm unfamiliar with such a being, but the beautiful words they share. Yes, the element one, the tattva one. How wonderful, Gregarji. I'm looking forward to seeing another avatar. Anna, you share, we must allow ourselves inner freedom. Inner freedom is the best kind of freedom. Point, and you share, Greta Van Fleet is a band. Oh, thank you for informing me. Kansky, you share, facing our fears. It's a way of giving ourselves space to grow. You have such wonderful additions to the question of the day today. You add to that adventuring on new experiences too. How beautifully said. Thank you. I'm very honored to be in a position where I get to echo such wisdom from all of you. I think that's a great place to begin to transition into an ultimate segment. But I'll read Shakira's answer too, which is being kind to our bodies and mind. I concur. I will add an answer that we give ourselves space by expanding our comfort zone. We may have walls around us of comfort. Push against those slowly and slowly and allow ourselves to be comfortable in more and more diverse situations. Dear Magic Turtle, you ask, how am I so calm all the time? Well, to tell you the truth, I'm not calm all the time. But every time I'm not calm, I see that as an opportunity when I could be more calm. And so I try to reflect on those moments as much as I can to make more time for calmness in my life. Alright, I'd like to read to you all another short section from this book sent to me by one of you beautiful souls. This book is about chakras and kundalini, and we've made our way all the way to the end of the book. At least in theory, we've now raised our energies all the way from the Muladhara Chakra, the root, through our Svadhisthana, our Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddha, Bindu, Ajna, and now the Sahasrara, the crown chakra, where we unite our energies in supreme consciousness. The greatest misfortune is to die without attaining God realization. Painfully, the Jivatma, the individual soul, comes to the realization that it has missed the opportunity of human life and must re-enter the cycle of death and rebirth. After death, we move unavoidably into the astral level appropriate to our karma. In the astral world, we are fully aware of all events, but are incapable of taking any action. We see our life running past us like a film. We recognize the mistakes of our earthly life and also joyfully experience the bliss of divine light and divine love resulting from our spiritual progress and good actions. But there is no possibility whatsoever of any further resolution or intervention. The direction and goal of our journey is determined solely by the trend of our karmas. Here the Jivatma follows one of three possible threads of destiny. 1, not just 1, 2, lead to a new birth in the world of Maya, material existence, and a third to the realization and union with the Supreme Self. In the Bhagavad Gita, the 8th chapter, the 24th and 25th verse, Lord Krishna explains the circumstances by which any soul comes to one of these paths. Anyone who still has some karma adhering, good or bad, will take on a mortal body again. Those who, in their earthly life, loaded themselves primarily with bad deeds, were unkind, or lacked compassion for others, will be born into an animal level of consciousness. With complete justification, this can be described as hell. In an animal life form, the ability of expression and development of the soul is greatly limited. It does not possess free will, intellect, speech, or the capacity to reason. In this existence, there is only a small and slow development of the consciousness. All karmas must be lived through over the predetermined period and be cleared away. But those whose good karmas predominated have the opportunity to aspire to a human birth and liberation. In line with the ratio of good and bad karmas, their existence is either happy or full of sorrow. The most beautiful fruit from existence, which were full of good and noble actions, is a happy life enriched with numerous opportunities for development in a spiritual and peaceful environment. Those who finally attain liberation through knowledge and selfless deeds, known as nishkama karma, the Master and God's grace, are not born again, unless they voluntarily decide to return to the earth as a helper or a teacher. These are the paths the soul takes after earthly death. Normally, the soul, together with the astral and causal bodies, leaves the physical body through one of the so-called 9 doors. These 9 doors include the mouth, the eyes, the ears, the nostrils, the excretory organs or genitals. Occasionally, it can be clearly seen through which door the soul departs. If a dying person eliminates excrement or urine, it is an indication that the soul is wandering in a lower level of consciousness. These souls particularly need our prayers so they can find their way to a higher consciousness when they again finally obtain a human birth after a long waiting period. Many dying people open their mouths or eyes. With others, a drop of blood comes from their nose or ears. These souls wander in the astral levels appropriate to their karma. But the Atma, the self of liberated yogis and masters, departs through the 10th door, the Sahasrara Chakra. This is occasionally visible through a drop of blood, or even, at times, a ray of light appearing at the crown of the head. Realized souls go to the highest level of the cosmos, where they are honorably welcomed as triumphant heroes. The path of development through the chakras, the process of change in the consciousness, and the investigation of our own thoughts and feelings is no easy undertaking. Many old habits must be given up, and much must be overcome. Unfortunately, we continue to perform ill-considered actions, speech, and thoughts. But for all the errors that we committed in ignorance, we can ask for forgiveness and pray. O Lord, lead us from ignorance to wisdom, from darkness to the light of knowledge. May your divine light always enlighten my heart and my consciousness. Though the way may still be onerous, I've never experienced that word before, onerous, O-N-E-R-O-U-S, and thorny. When we reach the goal, we forget immediately all pain, and the effort expended appears to vanish when compared to the bliss we now experience. Therefore, we should stay strong and under no circumstances give up our goal. Most important thing in life is that our spiritual practices are always performed with bhakti, love, and devotion. Through bhakti, Atma Chintana, constantly thinking about the Atma, mantra and meditation the chakras are awakened. Sattvika, which means pure, clear, true, Sattvika Bhakti is a safe and certain pathway to God. Because while the flame of pure love and devotion burns within us, no shadow or destructive forces can approach us. Allow the river of love to flow within, and hold the candle of wisdom firmly in your hand. Be a light to anyone you meet and help them on their path. In this way, you will continue to progress and develop further on your spiritual path. Thank you for listening. I'm very grateful to have this opportunity to read to you all. We'll continue reading about the Sahasrara Chakra next time. Thank you, dear Shakira, for the heart me you sent to Jai Sita Ram. And dear Angie, thank you for your heart me too. Namah Shakti Shivaya. Dear Gabriel, you have a challenging time believing this type of stuff. Good news. It's not a matter of belief. Nowhere does it ever say in this book or any yogic scripture to believe without understanding oneself. You wonder, how do they come to these conclusions, the yogis? Through detailed practices that have survived in an oral tradition for thousands of years, and they lead you to realize this directly. At no point in the spiritual journey is there a leap of faith in the authority of someone else's words. Therefore, all of these words are to affirm that which you have already experienced, just in ways that might require some contemplation or introspection. But all of these truths are found within. They arise from ancient scriptures, but that is a reflection of something that you can experience directly. And it's your direct experience of these things which this path is leading you to. And always is there room for criticality, doubt, and self-analysis. No one is surrendering their ability to wonder about these things. Wonder is always good. The easiest criteria for whether a path is true is look at the followers. Not just the followers, but the teachers of that tradition. Do they appear to have found some sort of peace? And as a student, do you appear to be coming closer and closer to that which is high above all else? Peace, love, patience, trust, compassion. If these things are coming into your life more and more, then you must be on the path to the highest truth, because these are all aspects of the highest truth, aren't they? I'm happy that makes you feel better. There's always room for questioning. Otherwise, it becomes an echo chamber of ideas which is contrary to the development of spirit. Spirit requires room to grow, lots of wonder and inquiry. We need all the questions we can get on that path. Now, Flower, you ask, how do I roll my R's so well? This is something that I've learned in the last few years. And it came from a shift in my understanding of the letter R. In English, we have the Latin alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And we use our understanding of this to base our soundscape. But actually the sounds of English are much more nuanced than the Latin soundscape. We have much more vowels than we have vowels. A, E, I, O, U. Almost every letter in the English alphabet doubles for some other sound. And for example, there's sounds like ch, sh, and zh, which don't appear expressed by any letter in particular. So if we're looking at the letter R as we understand it in English, then we're already off to a bad start. Because the sound R is not an R. Well, it's transcribed to one in English because that's the closest, but it's technically a vowel. It's a vowel that's not included in English, but is in other languages. How do I know it's a vowel? Well, what makes a vowel compared to a consonant? Consonant is some blockage of the airflow where we bring two organs of speech together and we make contact. But for sounds like I, O, I, it's a flow of unimpeded voice, just shaped by the position of our lips or tongue. When we want to make the sound we make no articulation. If we want to make the sound oo, all we do is we bring our lips together. Oh. We don't change the voice because there's nothing about the voice that changes. There is only voice. It's just shaped by the position of things in our mouth. Similarly, we make the vowel E simply by arching our tongue up. I. Towards the hard palate, or soft palate, the palate. I. So where does this so-called vocalic R take place in the vowel space? What we do is we curl our tongue back. And that's what's so hard for English speakers, is this position doesn't happen in any English sound. So you have to learn a new position of your tongue. You curl your tongue back, called retroflex. You're flexing backwards, retro. You'll notice it picks up an R-like sound, but it's still a vowel. R. And you can hold it there. That's not enough to make it roll. Now we need something else that also has been lost to English, and that's aspiration. You may notice that in many English words, you'll find just a random H in front of a certain letter. Like, for example, in the word what. You don't need that H there, do we? We could take the H out and it would still be pronounced what. But if you listen to some a little more archaic dialects, you'll hear that H is sometimes pronounced. People say what. They add breath to it. And in many languages around the world, we differentiate between a consonant produced with breath and not with breath. That would be the difference between ka and ka. That aspiration we add to the vocalic R, and that's enough to make your tongue flutter in the wind of the vowel space. So we bring our tongue back, R, and then we add extra breath, R. And if that's not working, you either gotta curl it back even further or add even more breath. But eventually, you'll just get a few rolls, and it'll keep on rolling as you keep practicing. The way I practiced every day was learning the sounds of Sanskrit, because Sanskrit uses that sound very frequently in words like chakra, chakra, or words like dharma, dharma. So immersing yourself in a soundscape that uses them, trying just a little bit every day, it was only a matter of months where I could feel confident sharing it. And that's also a testament to one of the ways in which Sanskrit is such a beautiful learning experience for how we express ourselves in sound. I wouldn't have been able to articulate that without study of Sanskrit. Sanmarkam, wondering if I know Tamil. Well, I know of Tamil, the beautiful Dravidian language, but I don't know how to speak Tamil. Would you share that YH retroflex sounds are in Tamil a lot? All throughout India, there's so many retroflex sounds, and that's often what is heard in a stereotypical Indian accent is we replace our words just with retroflex variants, and you get that very characteristic Indian accent. Even though the languages of India are so diverse, literally hundreds of languages spoken around. Dear Pipe, or Pipe, you had shared that you are scared that you're not spending enough time with your family. As you grow older, you see each other less. Aww. That's very sweet of you to observe. It is a fact of life in some ways. When we are children, we spend so much time with our parents, but our lives diverge in different ways. That's okay. But you've also seen the preciousness of the experiences you have with close members of your family. And I think that's beautiful. And whatever you have enough time for, you can feel affirmed in that. But at the same time, our family, as we grew up in it, they wanted us to discover ourselves. And if that means taking some time alone or with others to explore different parts of our being, then that's something they wish for us to. And we can also see everyone as part of our family, as a big human family. Thank you, dear Gabriel, for the W you sent earlier too. Radhe Radhe. And Jonathan, thank you for your trio of bubble teas. Jaya Satchitanandam. It's very beautiful what you share, Sanmarkam, that Valalar said that Tamil is the mother of all languages and Sanskrit is the father. I like that. I love how there was this confluence of Indo-European languages from the north, Dravidian language from the south, and together they became such a seed for so many languages to blossom. Thank you, dear Starlight Wow, for your tiny tool. Yahoo! And Kazki, thank you for your tiny. Yahoo! The tiny is still with me. Yippee! Dear Jake, you had asked if one soul can be awakened into one of a helper. Of course, our soul is a helper. That's its duty, that's its role. And we awaken that by helping. Hello, Gaia. And thank you, Mama Angel Cindy. Before we go tonight, I would just like to end with a short meditation for us to explore together. So, if you'll join me, I would like to do a mantra japa session with you. I'm just going to turn down the music so that we can put on some music to chant along with. Alright, so the mantra that I'd like to chant with you all is this Moonlight mantra, which sounds like Om Som Somaya Namah. Soma is simultaneously a name for the moon, as it is for this mythological drink that ancient yogis were to drink, and it would grant them mystical vision. And just as we read in The Hidden Power in Humans recently, the Bindu Chakra, situated on the cowlick, is said to drip rays of moonlight known as Amrita, the elixir of life, nectar of immortality. The moon is a symbol of these life-giving rays. So Soma is also symbolic of the light that comes from the moon. With that, I'd like to do a mantra dedicated to that. Om Som Somaya Namah. Om is the cosmic syllable representing all of creation, preservation, and dissolution of this entire universe, and even the reality beyond. Som, as you can tell, is the bija, the seed syllable for Soma. Somaya means to Soma. Namah, salutations. Do it 108 times. Without further ado. Om Som Somaya Namaha. 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 Om. Salutations to Soma, the elixir of life, the nectar of immortality, the Amurta, the moonlight, moonbeams of Chandra, our moon. Om. Thank you for listening. We're chanting along. Namaste. I'm grateful that I got to experience this mantra with you all. And I love how we got to share this live stream together. Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan, for the harp you sent earlier too. Hari Om Tat Sat. Without further ado, allow us to abide in this passing time as we close our live stream. Thank you all for being here. May you all have a wonderful rest of your night, your morning, your evening, your afternoon. I trust that you have the possibility to find joy in each moment of your day. This live stream as a whole will be uploaded to my Yamsox Live's YouTube channel without any ads. You're welcome to check that out if you found any value in this. And in case you ever wanted to listen to live streams when I'm not live, they're there for you too. Also, the meditations and the readings, they will have their own dedicated playlists, as they already are existing there. So you're welcome to check that out, and I will upload the readings and meditations that we've done in this live there too. May this live stream be an offering to the divinity that exists in you. The one divinity that is present all throughout the universe, expressed in many ways, in many forms, through many people, of many cultures, many traditions. Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma mritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Much love to you, dear Anna Pauls. Much love to you, dear Miss J1 Universal Karma. Namaste, Billy. Big love, Kazki. Thank you, everyone. Peace and love, dear Gregarji. Much gratitude, Feline, and G to Infinity. Good night, dear Angel. Namaste, Doi. Thank you, dear Donsuela. Story time by Fatima. I'm very grateful for you too, dear Bryce. May you all have a wonderful rest of your present moment. Namaste.